great fun. You guys, I think it's like the first time I've seen everybody getting totally into music. It's been a blast. That's great. Clark just lowered the age of the garden by 73 years. Thank you, Clark. That was great, Clark. Thank you. Hey, Kevin, what's going on?
I know we got our script that we've been working on, and
Mm-hmm.
we got our a little behind schedule here, but
A little.
I think we need to be prepared to improvise and dance on our feet a little bit today. Is that okay?
Absolutely, yeah.
You've done some theater. You know how to improvise and dance on your feet, right?
Yeah,
Can you dance on your feet as well as Bobby?
Bobby.
Well, you know the story. The Methodist Church had the big nativity Christmas play at the church every year, and the whole town came, and little Johnny wanted to be Joseph. That was the ultimate part for a little boy, was to be Joseph, right?
Yeah.
And Johnny was in sixth grade this year, so they always give Joseph to a sixth grader, so he knew he was going to get the part, right? Plus his mother had been the director of the play for 10 years, so he just knew he was going to get it. The day came to assign parts, and they gave the part of Joseph to Bobby. Yeah. Johnny was the innkeeper. The play came, everything is going good, the whole town is there, and Joseph, Bobby, and Mary walk up to the inn where Johnny's the innkeeper, and Bobby knocks on the door, and says, "Sure, we got lots of room, come on in." And you could hear the collective sigh in the audience. And Bobby stuck his head in, looked around, and said, "No way, man, this place is a dump. We'll stay out back in the stable." So let's dance, okay?
Very good. Very good. Oh, so for those of you who don't know, Kevin has been coming to the garden for a number of years, but we actually went to seminary together. We were in school studying theology at the same time, and so it's really nice to be up here with you today. So Happy New Year! First Sunday of the new year. We've got some papers out here reminding us that a new year is in store and good things are in store. So let me ask you, how goes it with your soul today, Kevin?
Honestly,
Yeah.
I'm a little conflicted these days. I've got some anger and sadness. I mean, we're going in the new year, right? We just celebrated Christmas, but I've got concerns about the.
I saw that video too, and I thought, wow, that's a kind of a downer. A lot of things happened this year that are a downer, and it's true. A lot of those videos had things like all the people we lost this past year, but they also share a bit of the goodness, like the good things that happened and the love that happened in the world, and I kind of got a little excited about the year in review videos. I saw the goodness in it, and really surprises me that you're seeing the dark side of things. I mean, I know you as this fun-loving, happy guy. I mean, what's that all about? In the video that we didn't get to see, you talked a little bit about how God breathed God's life into all of us. And indeed, that's what you believe, is that life and that breath is in all people. And I love that. And then you also said you believe that in the light of God that shines into the world. But it feels to me like you're breathing a little shallow and sitting in the dark.
Well, I mean, you know me, my family. I have some coworkers here. I'm a fun-loving, happy. And then I get out in the world, and all this Christmas talk about the light in this child coming into the world that John 1:5 speaks about. And yet it's 2,000 years later, and the world is still so full of darkness. I mean, Marvin Gaye's been singing What's Going On since 1971. The Black Eyed Peas, Words of Love, since 2003. And as we said, we've developed all this great technology that's supposed to make life easier, but it seems to me that we're going backwards as a human race.
Oh, Kevin, that kind of disappoints me. You ask, where is the love and where is the light? Well, it's right here. It's right here each and every week. And you know what? We also recognize here that it's not just here. I mean, that's in part why we say shalom, salam, Namaste, peace every week, we recognize that God's Spirit works in the world in a lot of different ways. In traditional churches that people go to, in Jewish communities, in Muslim communities, in spiritual communities, heck, in places where they don't even name a faith practice. We recognize that God is at work, and at the heart of humanity is goodness. You know how they always say, we do believe that it is possible. With God, all things are possible, and maybe, in fact, there can be peace on earth.
It kind of sounds trite when I think about this last week, that at Christmas time when we talked about hope and peace and love and joy, I really want to believe that that's a reality for all people. That love is what we are all created for. But I still find myself, when I look at all the evil and pain and suffering that we bring upon each other in the world, where is the love?
Kevin, remember, when we were in seminary, they taught us that story that we've probably all heard before about the starfish.
The starfish story. You want me to tell the starfish story?
I'd love for you to tell the starfish story.
So if I remember, there's a little girl walking on the beach, and she comes upon thousands of starfish that have been washed up on the shore overnight, and she starts taking each one at a time and throwing it back in the ocean, right? And a group of people gathered around, and they started observing her and thought that was kind of amusing. And then she'd been doing that for a while, and a man approached her and said, "Little girl, why are you doing this? Look at this beach. You can't possibly save all these starfish. You can't begin to make a difference." And sometimes when I think about the world, I think about all the people who are like those starfish on the beach, dying.
But you haven't finished the story, Kevin. Finish the story.
So, yeah, the little girl seemed crushed and suddenly deflated. After a few minutes, she picked up another starfish, and she hurled it as far as she could into the ocean. And she looked at the man and replied, "Well, I made a difference to that one." And then the old man looked at her and pondered about what she had done and said, and he too picked up a starfish and started tossing it. And then the rest of the people tried to save as many starfish as they could.
And that's exactly what it's all about. It's about one starfish at a time. It's about one deed at a time. It's about one conversation at a time. It's about all of those things. Kevin, do you remember on Christmas Eve when we gathered here, we had this great little manger over here, and that manger had one candlelight in it. And that one candlelight represented for us the light of Christ. And what we did was we took that one candle and we lit another candle, and that light continued to burn. And then the next light, and the next light, and the next light. This is actually a picture from that service. That's exactly how the garden works. We each do a little bit, just a little bit. And each one of those little movements is just a little more light in the world. That's all that God asks for us. That's what God is calling us to do. And you find that light here at the garden.
I do. I find that the garden speaks a different language and honors people who also speak a different language. That at the garden, everyone, and I mean everyone, is affirmed and recognized. You're LGBT and you have a lifelong partner that you want to marry, we have a minister that will marry you. You have
That's
some
right.
doubts. You're a young adult who has doubts and you're not sure about God and the church and what life's about. The garden welcomes those doubts. We welcome you to come with those questions about all of life.
Well, and you know, Kevin, that's exactly what's at the heart of the mission statement of the garden. The garden decided to remain a church. But we recognize that in the church, and we talked about it at the beginning of the service here, that there are a lot of challenges. But we are a church that's open to lots of different ideas and lots of different communities that recognize the light and love of God in the world in amazing ways. Our mission statement states that we're an open, inclusive, Christ-like community where people from many paths gather to engage, explore, engage, and seek inspiration to share in the transformation of the world through the unconditional love of God. we have some core values that we live into, and we believe that young people today could probably seek to live into these values as well. Their social justice, their outreach, their spirituality, love, and inclusiveness. We at the Garden are trying to speak a language that not only feeds those of us who have gathered here all week, every week, week after week, which, by the way, I've had people say, my aunt's church, they're just these great old hippies. Yeah, we're these great old hippies, but we believe indeed. Thanks, Michael. We do believe indeed that love is meant for all people. That's why our mission statement reads like that. That's why our core values read like that. And that's why we are committed to learn a language that people younger than us are speaking as well.
Yeah, and I recognize at the Garden that we realize young people today are speaking a different language, and we want to learn it. I mean, at the Garden, we seek to understand, and so I think of my 2 millennial children who I love dearly. And we speak a different language on religion and spirituality, and I'm not even sure what they would call themselves. And for me, what I love about the Garden, they would be welcome. And it wouldn't matter what they think, that for me in the end, I just want to know that they are Christ-like, that they love, they give, they serve, they forgive, they're compassionate, they believe in justice.
That is what we are all about, Kevin. That is exactly what we're all about. You know, when you look at some of the most amazing things happening in the world today, when I look back at what's happened this past year, a lot of those people don't look like us.
I'm offended by that.
You are?
Just because I'm having my 40th high school reunion this summer, and some of these young adults aren't even 40 years old, I'm
That's
old.
true. Well, you know, no, I'm not necessarily.
Person of the year, Greta Thunberg.
Yeah.
I just noticed this morning, born in 2003. Where is the love? Environmental activist that's being proclaimed around the world, getting the attention of the world leaders. She's changing not just her world, but the world, the creation.
Dalamunza Malanga is from Zimbabwe. This young man is only 20 years old, and he started this non-for-profit in Zimbabwe that it's seeking to bring awareness to what the cultural value of the community is. And there are 3 cultural core values: humility, courage, and curiosity. This non-for-profit that he's trying to get this message out is impacting business throughout Zimbabwe. And then guess what? Not only there, but some U.S. leaders have picked it up as well. Some younger people, they have picked it up as well. And they are moving these elements, these qualities, into their own practices as well.
This next person, this Shri Bose, 18 years old. She's done extensive research on cancer drugs, and in the emerging science field, she's coming up with a drug that potentially could help cure cancer. And she's only a freshman at Harvard, but she's well on her way to becoming a physician to do that.
And she is 18 years old. Isn't that remarkable? There's another guy, Jason Cohn. He is the new executive director for Doctors Without Borders. Look, he got involved just to be a doctor to help through the situation. And there was this terrible situation that came up, and he became the front man, had no desire to do it, but is now the executive director and is now moving the organization in different ways that's continuing to heal and transform the world.
This next one I read on the internet, Veronica Scott was a 21-year-old art student. When she got an assignment that would change her life, she was to go out and identify a community problem and design a problem to solve it, or a product to solve it, kind of like what we're looking to do today. So she went out into the streets of Detroit. She talked to the homeless about what their needs were. She had conversations, and it led her to create a winter coat that becomes a sleeping bag at night. And now those are being given to all the homeless people in Detroit.
That's pretty cool. This last one, and I'm going to invite the band back up, are 3 amazingly powerful women. These 3 women, it started a movement that has transformed our nation, started with these 3 women. Alicia Garza is 34, and she sent out a text to her 2 friends, Patrice Kalours, who's 32, and Opal Tometi, who's 31. They all work in human rights initiatives from New York to LA. And she sent out one text, 3 words. These 3 words came out right after George Zimmerman was acquitted for the death of Trayvon Martin. Does anybody here know what those 3 words were? Black Lives Matter. She texted those 3 words to those 2 women. And then those 3 words went from being just that one text to a hashtag. That hashtag then went on to become a movement. The movement went on to become an organization. And a group of people came together to literally shift our culture in new ways so that we have a new understanding for the way that we treat one another and understand one another. Some say it is the greatest cultural shift in the last 50 years, and I have to believe that's absolutely true. It took great courage to put that out there. And with that has come healing and hope. There's a new beginning for us, our community, where we recognize our differences, but we find a way to talk through them. Kevin, I don't disagree. There are all kinds of things that are happening in this world, and I have mixed emotions too. But God is up to something in this world. And we here at the Garden want to listen and seek to understand and follow the ways of pioneers who are younger than us, who are speaking a language that we don't even know. The future of love is found in those who have come behind us. So, Kevin, tell me, have we been able to find a way to transform that downness? Are you feeling the love, baby?
I am, and it's because I know the divine spirit of love within each of those young people is the same divine spirit of love within each of us. And we will and we can tap into that. And I believe the young people we've invited to this event today will also tap into that divine spirit of love as they seek to transform their world.
You know, friends, the only way the garden can continue to be a garden is if we grow. And the only way that we're going to continue to grow is to continue to plant new seeds. It's time for all of us to get engaged and to figure out how it is we can continue to get this amazing message that came about some 25 years ago out into the world. Yes, indeed, in 2020, God has something in store for this awesome garden. The members of
In the car.
Hot Diggity Dog.